So this is what's being reported now. Multiple outlets have carried the story. Russian hackers breached Microsoft as part of their campaign that infiltrated the U.S. nuclear weapons stockpile network. The Los Alamos lab and the Energy Department, officials reveal. So this is the latest update on what they're saying is the biggest cyber attack in history. I know that's not a lot to say because cyber infrastructure is new, relatively, only the past couple of decades. But this is an act of war. I mean, that's basically what they're getting at. They broke into our nuclear weapons stockpile. Now, here's the important fact in all of this. How do we know it was Russia?
Exactly.
How do we know we even got hacked?
Exactly.
See, remember when they said the Gulf of Tonkin incident was legitimate?
Mm-hmm.
Then when people questioned it, they said you're a conspiracy theorist. And then they finally came out and they're like, we actually faked that whole thing to enter the Vietnam War.
Do you know what it was exactly? They blew up a ship of theirs, the United States.
Oh, they didn't blow it up at all.
What happened exactly?
My understanding is that the initial report was, I think the Viet Cong fired on a U.S. Destroyer, I believe. I can pull it up. But the general idea was that one of our vessels was attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin. And this was used as a rallying cry, like, oh, they've attacked us. We must enter the war. Everybody who said it never happened was called a conspiracy theorist, and it was absurd to believe the media was lying about it. And then I think it was 10 years ago or whatever, they were like, oh, that whole thing? Yeah, we faked it. We wanted to go to war, so we just made it up.
Yeah, but the documents were released, and people found out that the government absolutely lied to start a pointless war that wasn't about anything that they were telling the people it was actually about. And because of that, tens of thousands of Americans died, and then hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese people died. That led to tremendous human suffering, and just the United States, again, losing a war that it was in for what reason?
Check this out. This is what the Wikipedia... So Wikipedia is pretty, pretty
they
biased.
They hate me, yeah.
Yeah, check this out. Here's what they wrote. On Sunday, August 2nd, 1964, the destroyer USS Maddox, while performing signals intelligence patrol as part of the DeSoto operations, was falsely claimed to have been approached by 3 North Vietnamese Navy torpedo boats of the 135th Torpedo Squadron. Maddox fired 3 warning shots, and it was claimed the North Vietnamese boats attacked with torpedoes and machine gun fire. Maddox expended over 283-inch 76-millimeter and 5-inch 130-millimeter shells, wow, in a sea battle. According to the false report, 1 U.S. aircraft was damaged, 3 North Vietnamese torpedo boats were damaged, and 4 North Vietnamese sailors were killed, with 6 more wounded. There were no U.S. casualties. Maddox was, quote, unscathed except for a single bullet hole from a Vietnamese machine gun round. It was originally claimed by the NSA that a second Gulf of Tonkin incident occurred, et cetera, et cetera. So initially the reports were all that, we got attacked. Oh, isn't this hilarious? Wait, the original American report blamed North Vietnam for both incidents, but the Pentagon Papers, the memoirs of Robert McNamara, and NSA publications from 2005 proved the U.S. government lied to justify a war against Vietnam. Does that name sound familiar?
Yeah.
Robert McNamara.
And we have to understand this history of starting false flags in order to get a country into war is something that's common, and it happens a lot, whether it's the Reichstag fire, whether it's even the conversation with the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staffs in the 60s talking about Operation Northwoods, faking, of course.
JFK said, get out of here with that stuff.
Well, yeah, but Operation Northwoods literally talked about having fake hijackings. There was, of course, the baby in incubators in Iraq, 9/11, and there was many other instances that happened all throughout world history that showed how very powerful people conspired in order to lie to their people to think that they were under attack.
So that's why we have to understand. We cite things on this show. So instead of just moving on, we stop.
I want to make
and
a big
pull
point
it up. We pull up Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation against the Cuban government that originated with the U.S. Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the U.S. in 1962. The proposals called for the CIA and or other U.S. government operations to stage or actually commit acts of terror against American military and civilian targets and blaming them on the Cuban government. This is on Wikipedia, and you don't got to trust whatever. It's there. It exists.
Yeah, so again, what I was trying to say here, there's a lot of instances of this happening, so to think that there wouldn't be a digital false flag is something that is very naive, especially when we look at the revelations from Edward Snowden that revealed how intelligence agencies in the United States have the capability to launch false flag internet hacking attacks to make it look like another country is attacking us. So the United States intelligence agencies have that capability. Are they using it? Who actually hacked us? What actually happened here? good luck trying to find any evidence.
Well, so
good
here's-
luck trying to find any information regarding to exactly what happened with this latest hack.
Here's the important thing I'll say to this. Did Russia hack the U.S. in one of the most sophisticated and consequential cyber attacks in history?
Unknown.
Unknown.
Yeah, we don't.
Possibly. That's what they're reporting. That's what they're saying. It's going to be really, really hard to prove that. When it comes to something like the Gulf of Tonkin, you can show a ship with smoke coming out of it.
You should look up the burning of the Reichstag.
Right. When it comes to digital hacks, we only have official reports and statements. You know, the problem I have with it is, I seem to remember a guy named, I think it was Clapper, when he lied and claimed there was no
James
mass surveillance.
Clapper, yeah.
No
He
mass
lied to
surveillance.
Congress
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
oath.
Yeah.
U.S.
And then-
General Hayden, and that said there was no spying program at all. When I confronted him about the, family-friendly show, the guys in the NSA who were caught
having fun to
masturbating?
images.
Super family friendly.
I love that word, by the way.
Having fun with
doing
while watching-
inappropriate
Playing
things with their
toys?
hands, spying on people's private
Playing
phone
video
pictures.
Yes.
No, not playing video games. Sorry, Ian.
I don't know
but
this
again,
story.
General
What
Hayden
happened?
lied to me and told me, no, there's no spying program. Doesn't exist.
Of course they're lying. They're lying all the time.
Yep.
And Edward Snowden and Julian Assange exposed a lot of that lying. Trump should pardon Julian Assange.
Just
First and
like
foremost.
just like Ellsberg
should-
exposed the Gulf of Tonkin in the Pentagon Papers. These guys like Snowden and Assange exposed this stuff with what got exposed by any false flags get exposed by these guys?
By what, Snowden?
Yeah, Snowden
No,
and
Snowden
Assange.
exposed that they were lying to the American people about warrantless and mass surveillance.
Just generally
we didn't
lying.
get-
Stealing your information, and they lie, and that's what they
always
do. That's
have.
what they've done, and it's because they're not beholden to anybody. They're an entity unto themselves.
The term false flag is so basic. Back in the day, thousands of years ago, a king would go and take a flag of his enemy and put it on a bunch of troops and then go burn down one of his own cities and be
Right.
like, they did it, let's go to war. And everyone would be like, okay.
Yep, to
Yeah,
get the
that's
people.
history.
But morale is so when it comes to going way back in history, you see the point of the false flag was you could make people go to war, but if there's no morale and there's no energy and zeal in that war, people don't fight very well. But if you show them, look, they're flying the flag of Gilder. They kidnapped Princess Buttercup.
Indeed.
Yes. Then people will be like, how dare you? They'll be really angry and they'll feel it and they'll want to fight hard.
They have yellow cake and they have weapons of mass destructions.
do.
And the first Gulf War was really something extremely eye-opening, since they literally hired a PR firm to talk about how babies in incubators were ripped out by the Iraqi military and thrown to the ground and brutally assassinated by the Iraqis. And of course, all of that came out to be an absolute lie.
Yeah, and the media really didn't go hard that was a lie.
Yes, and then people need to understand that was the first justification to get into the first Gulf War, which was, again, absolutely pointless.
You brought up
and idiotic.
the burning of the Reichstag earlier,
Yeah.
and this is when this is what Hitler used as an impetus to create the Appeasement Act, and he said that when the Reichstag, the capital
Or wasn't
of,
it the Enabling Act?
the Enabling Act,
Enabling
thank
Act,
you, it's called the Enabling Act, that when the Reichstag was burned down, he blamed the communists and said, the communists burned down our parliamentary capital, we need to take away everyone's civil liberties and establish martial law. And that was 1933, that was the beginning of Hitler's reign of terror, more or less.
He also launched a false flag attack on the Polish border at a radio station, saying that the Poles were attacking. He dressed up some prisoners.
He blamed
and-
the Polish guy for burning the Reichstag.
I don't know if the guy who burned the Reichstag was Polish, but there was a separate false flag incident on the Polish-German border, saying the Polish invaded and they're attacking our radio stations, and it was literally just a bunch of criminals that they got put in Polish uniforms and then shot up and
Dutch,
murdered.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
So they did some tests on the Reichstag and were like, could what if Hitler said happened? Could one guy have burned down this entire building as quickly as it did?
They
And don't-
blamed a communist for burning it down.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's how
of
they
course.
did it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So we have to be more attentive than ever with the possibility of a false flag happening right now. And if it does, we have to understand the people who question it or ask for evidence or any kind of information regarding it will be automatically wiped off from the internet. So I think this is a major concern of mine, because this ability to be able to communicate rightful information, I mean, especially during 9/11, a lot of people had very serious questions about what happened then. A lot of family members, a lot of rescue workers, a lot of survivors that I personally met and knew that were there had very serious questions. And a lot of their voices, a lot of their concerns was able to go out there to the general public because of the internet. Now we're living in such a tightly controlled space where I really doubt that they would even have a voice in today's modern day and age if 9/11 happened again.
I worked at 9/11. I worked at the Trade Center. I worked at the American Express building across the street, and I would work with the firemen, and they would come in, and I would ask, like, well, where are the bodies? And they say, well, when we find a fireman, we know because we don't find bodies, but we find the jacket, which is heat resistant. We find this white Twizzlery substance inside of it, which is the bone. Everything else is melted away. And they would fold it up and they would take it. And he said, we don't find bodies. The bodies are in the liquid under our feet running down into the East River. They're all melted. And I didn't know why they were. I didn't know at the time. I just thought, okay, underneath the glass building is hot.
The Reichstag fire is not officially a false flag.
Really? They don't know.
Not officially.
Yeah, they've done tests.
They think that Hitler was using it as pretext, but the official history is that they had a trial and they blamed this guy, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. But they've done tests to see if the guy could have burned down the entire building as quickly as it happened, and they think it's impossible, that it would have taken multiple people in multiple areas of the building to set the fires and to have it all go up like it did.
It's interesting. So what happens if Antifa does something in Washington, D.C., and then Trump is like, oh, and then he calls them an insurrection act like Trump supporters want?
It could go either way. It could be Antifa, it could be Proud Boys, whatever the excuse is. We have to understand that the political establishment doesn't care who they throw under the bus. So it most likely could be Proud Boys, but it also could be Antifa, because I could see a lot of Antifa. Right now, they're not doing anything. They're kind of dormant, especially with the lockdowns, especially with the quasi-martial laws that are happening, which is especially perplexing. It should be perplexing for a lot of people, unless you're paying attention.
Would be coming out
exactly,
against the
they're not. But I think there's going to be a resurgence protest, and I think Donald Trump's words of saying that Antifa is going to have Biden for breakfast, I think he said something similar to that atonement.
Oh, they're excited.
I think they're going to have a heyday under his administration.
Already, there is Newsweek publishing one of the craziest fake news stories I've ever seen, where they claimed the Proud Boys were wearing a shirt that basically glorified the Holocaust. And that's just the lightest way I can put it, because I can't tell you what they're claiming the Proud Boys were wearing, but this is just absolutely insane. There's no way that's true. And there was this image they posted of a shirt of an eagle holding the fasces, the symbol of fascism, and I'm like, that's insane.
Isn't that on the back of the U.S. dollar?
No,
that eagle with its talons holding the arrows in one foot, and
they're not holding the fascists. It's
kind of like a bundle of sticks. It's a bunch of arrows.
Well, we have to understand, covering many protests and demonstrations, you know this too, there's always some crazy, insane person. And if you want to cover a protest, if you want to make someone look bad, you always cover the crazy, insane person there. And you selectively choose. But
they didn't have any photos of this guy. There's no photos, there's no videos.
And again, it's very hard to believe anything they say right now, since they're literally making stuff up out of thin air just to generate headlines, just to generate clicks, just to generate revenue for themselves, as they're a part of a dying, fleeting industry that's becoming obsolete.
We got to be careful about blaming any political party for any of this violence, because that's what Hitler did. He blamed the communists.
Well, that's why I'm saying.
Well, that's not a political party.
I know, but Antifa or Proud Boys, we got to be careful about pulling these guys into it.
I'm saying with the history of false flags, it could go either way. It could be blamed on Antifa. It could be blamed on Proud Boys. It could be blamed on a totally new group of people that are meant to take the blame.
ISIS was one.
There's a lot of possibilities here that we have to understand are possible here, because the realm of possibility is very wide. And we have to understand, at the end of the day, it's always their objective that matters the most, that we have to be careful of.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., so come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.